Hi, I'm Marsh from StrataGames, and today we are playing some more Pauper. This is a Selesnya ramp deck, or Selesnya initiative deck that I saw, that I thought looked pretty sweet. It plays a lot of the same cards as your Gruul monsters, Gruul ramp decks, with, of course, your Arbor Elves, Utopia Sprawl, and Wild Growth, with a whole bunch of forests and a little bit of a splash for plains with Radiant Grove, which we can get with our generous Ent. And then we're playing things like Bannerhide Cruciak, Jewel Thief, and Malevolent Rumble, as well as Avenging Hunter. However, the goal of this deck is to also be able to play the other main best initiative creature in the format that's still legal, which is Goliath Paladin. So instead of red, we're splashing white. This means we don't get Chrysalis, which is definitely a detriment, but I think this isn't pretty interesting. So we have a lot of ways to take the initiative, and then we have a couple Pegasus Guardian, which has an adventure to exile then return a creature to the battlefield, which means you can retake the initiative if your opponent took it at instant speed, or you can just kind of turbo through it as a one-off ephemerate kind of a card. But it's also a creature. It's a pretty expensive 6 mana, but we ramp, so it should be fine. 3/3 flyer, and at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, you get a 1/1 which can help you block just any permanent you control leaving the battlefield, which means your Jewel Thief cracking a treasure could give you an extra guy, or obviously if you attack and trade off any of your creatures, that would also work. And of course, we're playing some Nyxborn Hydras. We don't have any Cascade here, so there's no downside of the Hydra like there sometimes is, and Hydra is just a very, very good card. We also get some interesting sideboard cards because of that. We're playing a couple more of the Guardian. We're playing Guardian Naga, which has an adventure to exile an artifact or enchantment. So this is a card that we're going to be bringing in against Affinity and things like that. 3 mana to do that, and then it's 7 mana for a 5/6 that prevents all damage during your turn to this creature. Pretty expensive, but again, it's a removal spell. It's also a creature that we can cast later to block. Of course, we have Thraben Charm, Shinin of Life's Roar, which can make it so all creatures have to block a single creature, and then a couple Armadillo Cloaks, or rather, a whole playset of Armadillo Cloak, which is just a nice card to go on any of our giant creatures when we're playing against red, so that our opponent probably can't kill our creature unless they spend 2 or 3 bolts on a creature, and then also life gain is going to just win us the game after a couple of turns. So, pretty interested to see how this deck does. Let's take it into a league and see how we do. We're against Lindoso, who pretty much exclusively plays Boros Synth, so that's good to keep in mind. We only have 1 land here. We have the Generous Ent actually for our 2nd land, I guess. But we also have a whole bunch of ramp, so we need to find some more creatures. But Rumble can help us do that, and we just have a lot of mana to go into this Nyxborn Hydra, so I think we're going to keep this. And just start with a Wild Growth. I want to keep the Sprawl for green mana, and it looks like I might need to or want to play 2 or more green spells next turn, so I might as well just keep these for later. So, of course, I want to get a 2nd land here, so let's cycle this. We already have our white from our Utopia Sprawl, so let's just get a forest, play that Wild Growth onto here, and I think we just Utopia Sprawl for white and Utopia Sprawl for more white, I guess. This is an outrageous amount of ramp. We have very few creatures left. We are almost out of cards, but we can just play like a 5/6 Hydra next turn, although that can be bad against them because they probably will just have Thraben Charms in their main deck. We could also just rumble into potentially like a 5-drop, which could be kind of cool. Of course, they do have 2 creatures, so it's possible that they could take the initiative. We do get a Bannerhide, which is not bad. We find Pegasus Guardian, which is probably our best pick here. It's expensive, but it can potentially make us some more 1/1s. Also, it allows us to flicker some stuff, or I could just take a Jewel Thief. I think we'll take the Guardian and then just play a Bannerhide. Now it's going to be hard for them to attack. If they get Metalcraft here, they could Galvanic Blast the Bannerhide down, or they could just Thraben Charm it or something. They have a Dawnbringer Cleric to take out one of the Sprawls. Okay, fair enough. And a forest. So Pegasus Guardian, I could get a 1/1 if I sack this spawn, which is not bad. It is a 6-drop that can just die to a lightning bolt, which is kind of bad. So I could just put 5 mana into this Bannerhide and Nyxborn to make a 9/9. That seems pretty good. Then they can't kill it with almost anything. I guess if they have Journey to Nowhere, the Hydra still falls off. That's probably fine. I think we're just going for it. I could keep the spawn around, but I kind of like the extra mana here. And if they don't have Journey or Thraben Charm right here, they're in a pretty bad spot, about a 2-turn clock. I guess another Dawnbringer can blow up the Hydra. That's pretty good and annoying. Radiant Fountain gains 2 life, and they swing in for 3. And Skyfisher picks up a Dawnbringer. Yeah, just in case we get another Hydra. Arbor Elf, we're going to swing for 4. And I guess we just play a Pegasus because it can fly and attack. Again, it still just dies to a Lightning Bolt, but it's either that or I play an Arbor Elf, which does allow me to next turn like flicker with Pegasus, replay it, which can give us an extra 1/1, but that just seems not great. Although maybe it would have been better since they did have the bolt here. Dawnbringer can take us off white now. So I guess probably best that we played the white spell when we had the white mana, now that we don't. They are racing us, which I guess they probably can do pretty easily. They Skyfisher. With all these creatures, initiative's not looking too good. Also, now we're drawing. Not great. We'll swing. And they can trade. Well, they can chump with this Skyfisher. They don't trade for the creature, but they could absorb the damage if they wanted. They choose not to. We'll play an Arbor Elf. They're swinging for 7, so we die to a Galvanic. They picked up a Dawnbringer Cleric, though, so if I block and I don't die, I guess we could top deck. I mean, if they play Dawnbringer, gain 2 life. Even if I get like a Nyxborn, we're not going to survive. I think chumping doesn't give us any outs, and this potentially could, but I assume we're just going to die to a Galvanic or Double Bolt or something. There it is. They do have some artifacts, so Guardian Naga can be decent. Armadillo Cloak could be decent, but they have Dawnbringer, I'm assuming Thraben Charm, and also Journey, so this actually looks pretty rough. Shinnin can be decent. Guardian seems bad when they just have bolts. Too expensive for dying too easily. But Shinnin, if we get one big guy and make all their guys block, that's kind of decent. And then Guardian Naga can get a land, but it's expensive, so it's unlikely to get a land very quickly. Hitting a synth or something can be decent. Also, during your turn, prevent all damage, so they can just kill it on their turn. Vines of Vastwood we also have in our deck, which I forgot to mention. Pretty decent, I guess, if they have to spend multiple bolts, and then we can give it hexproof. Or if they do have like a death touch, or not death touch, what am I saying? An enchantment removal, like they had for a Nyxborn. Although this only targets creatures, so it would have to be the Nyxborn not bestowed. But so for that reason, maybe we don't need all of these vines. Unfortunately, we went up against a heavy creature matchup, so the initiative is just not looking great here. But I don't think we cut them, because that's kind of the whole point of the deck. We could still maybe get like a turn 2, and it'd be decent. This is nothing very quick. We got to get rid of that. This is a Wild Growth into a Rumble. I guess this one's okay. We'll get rid of a Forest here. This could be a turn 3 Goliath Paladin if we find like a Plains, I guess. Because I can cycle the Generous Set for the Plains, but it's going to be a tapped land this turn, and then I couldn't also play the Rumble. Well, there's our Plains. Okay. So I can just... If I Rumble here, I don't have any white 1-drops. So let's just play this and float a green in case we get like an Arbor Elf or something. And we got an Arbor Elf. And a bunch of lands that we don't want. So I expect this to get bolted, but then we still can Paladin this turn, and they didn't bolt. That's pretty good. Lembas. Okay, we get the turn 3 initiative and a Utopia Sprawl. So put this on white, tap, untap, and play out a Paladin. And obviously next turn we can put out a Generous Ant, which is going to be pretty good at keeping this around 2. I will send a message and pass to them. Even if they kill the Arbor Elf, we could still just get down the Generous Ant, which is pretty good. Play an Inspector and a Skyfisher, but we'll have the blocker for that. They could have a Journey to Nowhere, but we're still in a pretty good spot because we also just have this enormous creature that they need a Journey for as well. Ooh, and Shinnin, I could actually just channel this to make them lose the Skyfisher. Is that what we want to do? I don't think so. I think we'll just play the Generous Ent, and I could play the Shinnin, but I don't even think I need to do that. It's probably still better to channel, because if they can't attack or get rid of the Ent here, they have the Journey. You know, maybe I should have just gone for it. I guess I had the mana to do both. So I probably should have, because now they can get in, and now if their guy's tapped, they actually don't have to block it. All right, that was definitely a mistake. We'll still be fine, but I definitely should have just taken the kill on the Skyfisher when we could have. We get a Rumble off the top. That's pretty good. We find another Generous Ent or another Paladin. Probably got to be Generous Ent. Well, to play the Generous Ent, I have to tap the Arbor Elf, which means they could block here and we don't get the initiative this turn. So I'd probably just take the Paladin. Then we attack. If they don't block, we go through 2. Plus we just have 2 guys. I don't know. I could take the Generous Ent, and this turn I can't Shinnin and play it. I'm just going to take the Ant. And I will just attack with the Paladin. 6. Yeah, I'm 1 mana short. They can chump. That's fine. Now I have 2 very, very large creatures. They're going to grow the Skyfisher. I did definitely make a big mistake, and would be in a much better position if I did not. Ideally, we'll be okay. Play an Inspector and pass. Jewel Thief. So I could just attack with both. They probably just chump them, which is not bad. I could channel this, which means they have to block everything on one of these. So I could channel this on a Arbor Elf for a spawn. They have to block everything on it. then I get in for 10, and then I trap them, I win. But, first of all, they have a Lembas, so that doesn't actually kill them. Second of all, if they have a single bolt for one of these, then they just don't have to block it at all. So it probably makes more sense to make everything block, like, the Paladin or the Ent, so that they probably do have to block it, and then I get in, and then I take the initiative. I think that's probably better. Everything has to block the Ent, and then to kill it, they would need, like, a Thraben Charm and a bolt here, like before damage, which seems fine to me. And if they throw everything in front of it and then have like a bolt, that's fine too. But this way we also, currently our Ent is not dying, and we get to kill the Skyfisher. Prismatic Strands. Okay, well that's obviously annoying. They prevent all damage from white sources, I would assume. Green first. They want to flash it back to keep the initiative? No, they don't. Alright, so we do take it. We get to trap them. They go to 5. We will untap this, play a Jewel Thief, and pass. Swing with the Skyfisher, take the initiative back. We go to 12, another Skyfisher, picks up their Lembas, crack a food. Hydra is definitely one of our better draws. Now they do have, of course, the Prismatic Strands, but that's why we're going to put this on an Eldrazi spawn. They could bolt it. I can't do much about that. Bestow onto a spawn. I don't really need this treasure either, so we'll just make it as big as we can do without sacking the other spawn, because if they do have a bolt for it, I might want another Hydra on the other spawn at some point. Yep, they have that. We still just have an enormous creature here. We'll attack with everything. They have the Prismatic, so they could like chump the Paladin, prevent green damage, and then also eat the Jewel Thief. Probably what they're gonna do. We'll pass. They go to the Archive. They have a Dawnbringer Cleric to blow up the Hydra. I could have put the Hydra so that it wouldn't die to a Galvanic on like the Paladin. Then they would have had to prevent white damage, and they would have had to like chump this and trade for the other one. That doesn't change that much. I'm taking 6 here. I mean, I'm not in a great spot. I think they've drawn pretty well, but also admittedly we made a big mistake that has led to us not being able to do much. If we attack with the Generous Ent, they chump both. They hit us for 9 or for 6, and then probably just need a bolt to kill us, so I guess we just attack with the Paladin. Sprawl, just in case we get something to play later. They have a Thraben Charm to kill the Generous Ent. Okay, so now if they just find a bolt, they will kill us. They get a one creature, an Inspector, off of that. They do put 4 bolts to the bottom. Bolts and blasts, that is. Crack a clue. Swing for 4. We get a Generous Ent. I'll swing with the Paladin. Play a Generous Ent. I crack a clue, and I will crack my food token. They have a Glint Hawk for a Lembas. Play that. Scry to the bottom. Another Glint Hawk. We get an Avenging Hunter, which will put us to the Archives, so lets us draw another card. Attack with the Paladin. They chump. Play the Hunter. Crack a clue. We draw a land, so we'll just pass. And they swing with everybody, which again, we die to a bolt. You also die if they go to the trap in another turn. They're going to forge for now. Make this Inspector very large. And there's the bolt. Well, this is my very first match with the deck, and I don't play a lot of Gruul, but yes, I should have killed the Skyfisher with the Shinnin, and if I had, I think I would have won that game pretty handily. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Alright, we only have 1 land, which is tough. We kind of need another one, but we're on the draw, and also we do have 3 mana to get to a Jewel Thief, which can get to 4. So I guess we'll keep it, but another land would allow us to play the Jewel Thief on turn 2, whereas without it, we're playing it on turn 3, even with our ramp. Alright, Forest is great. I guess we'll just Sprawl in case they have like a counter spell. I'd rather make sure we get our white mana through, because I could like Wild Growth and they could have like a Spell Stutter or something. Although Dimir Terror is the thing that's been going around lately. Arbor Elf is also pretty good. Well, I'm going to try to Wild Growth here. If that doesn't work, I'll just Arbor Elf. Yeah, which is annoying because if it did work, then I could Jewel Thief and then Arbor Elf. But this is still decent. Although another matchup where initiative doesn't look amazing because they're just going to have flyers. Swing with the Sprite, no Ninja, and they pass. I'm going to play a Jewel Thief here. It's pretty low impact, so if they counter it, not a big deal, but also if they don't, I can play another Jewel Thief. And if they do, I really can't play anything. I could play like a 1/2 Nyxborn Hydra, which does block Sprite, so that's not terrible, but I don't think that's really where I want to be at. We'll attack. They cycle a Lorien for an island, and they just slam a Murmuring Mystic. Well, that's going to be a tough one with no removal in our main deck. We have 6 mana. Of course, I could play a Goliath Paladin, but I think that introducing the initiative when they have a Murmuring Mystic and black mana for Snuffouts seems very silly. So I guess we could just Jewel Thief and Bannerhide. Not that either of these can get through a Mystic very efficiently. They brainstorm, swing with the Sprite, and they found a ninja. We get a plains, so I just have 7 mana. I guess I just throw this Nyxborn Hydra for +5 on like the Crew Shock. This is obviously just the most damage, but also if the Crew Shock gets like snuffed out here, then not only is the Nyxborn large enough to still get past a Mystic, and also has reach so it can block things, but also the Crew Shock, I have 7 mana to scavenge from the graveyard, and they do have the snuff out for it. So like next turn I could just throw its counters on the Jewel Thief and attack with everything there. Lorien Revealed is decent, although if I just have 2 giant tramplers, hopefully that'll be okay. They could have more snuff outs. Oh, they have a Bajuka Bog, of course, against my deck that almost doesn't care about its graveyard, but the one time I do, they have the Bog right away. Well, again, I could Paladin, but that seems pretty bad. I guess I just attack with the Hydra, hit for 5, and pass. They have a Dahada's Ploy to gain a little bit of life. Draw a card. They pitch a Snacker. Utopia Sprawl. I'll attack with the Hydra. I guess if they want to block with all 5 of these, then they can. I could just kill all the birds and try to slam the Paladin, but like they're gonna have something. I guess I kill the Ninja, play the Sprawl, and pass. Flashback the Ploy, discarding a Deep Analysis. And they brainstorm to get back the Snacker. Alright, we've lost this one. Thraben Charm hits their graveyard, I suppose. Shinnin can make a Murmuring Mystic block. These can also kill a Mystic. Pegasus Guardian can make 1/1s, so I guess that seems decent. Plus, I guess I can flicker things out of Snuff Outs and removal. Vines can be decent for removal too. I mean, unfortunately, I think we cut the Paladins because they get chumped too easily by all the fairies they have. Not to mention we want to go down on the initiative a little bit anyway. Not entirely, but cut some of this stuff. On the play, we have Sprawl and then nothing else. We got a mulligan that. Here we have a bunch of lands with the Generous Sense. We have 1 Arbor Elf. I guess we keep this, but it's not very good. We only have 1 creature. I mean, unless we get to 6 mana, we only have 1 creature that actually does anything, and then this is just slow lands. Jewel Thief. I'll cycle this Generous Ent for Radiant Grove, and I guess I'll attack for 1 damage. I could just leave it back so it could protect itself with the vines, but what are the chances they just like cast this down right now? Seems low. The 4th Generous Ent, cycle that for a forest, and we will cast a Jewel Thief, see if they want to counter that. They do. They play a Bog, but I don't care about it at this point. I will just not play anything. I could play a Hydra for like +3 counters on the Elf, or just as a 4/5. I'd rather not play into their counterspell here when we don't have a lot else to do. I am keeping this Generous Ent to actually cast now. Cycle a Lorien for an island, then they play an Aqueduct, bounce the Bog, Jewel Thief. I guess we'll cast that. Not really what I'm expecting to get counterspelled at this point. Swing for 1. They cast a Modern Age, discard a Snacker, pass the turn. Avenging Hunter. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm casting anything this turn with their counterspell mana up. We do have a 3/3, so I probably should have just attacked with the Arbor Elf too, but because then if they like cast something to kill it, then I could have Avenging Huntered. They discard another Snacker, Bajuka Bog themselves in a stunning twist of events. No, never mind. They're playing it boring, I guess. Thorn of the Black Rose. Okay, only 1 mana up, plus we have a Vines to protect against like a Snuff Out. I think that might be decent for us. I can like Hydra onto the Arbor Elf. Oh, they get both Snackers back. The Modern, or the Monarch. That's pretty good for them, but still. We get a forest, so I'm going to bestow onto the Elf. Actually, I kind of want to bestow onto the Jewel Thief, because then it's big enough to trample over anyway. If they block it and it dies, then I have a blocker for the Snackers, where if this doesn't die, it's not gonna be untapped. Plus, I'm still gonna have the Vines. So I think we're doing this. I'm gonna leave a mana for the Vines kicked as well, just if I can get in for extra damage this turn. That seems decent. I guess if they have like an annul they brought in, that would be pretty annoying, but they don't. If they also have 2 Snuff Outs, I can't do much about that. We're just gonna hope that's not the case. And if they just like block and trade, we still get the Monarch, and then again I have a blocker for one of these. It's not the worst thing ever. They do block. We will take the Monarch and pass. Shinnin could be interesting. They snuff out the Hydra. I guess there's no reason to pump it, and now they probably just have a counterspell for this, so. But we'll try to keep it around anyway. There's the Spell Stutter. They attack for 4, take the Monarch back. We get another Vines. Play an Avenging Hunter, but they just let that resolve, and then they also get to take the initiative. So I guess I'll cast a Generous Ent, and if they have a counterspell, we're just gonna lose. We would love another land, but we're gonna keep this one. We're against Jund. They don't have the most creatures ever, so this could be an okay one for us. I think this could still be a turn 3 Hunter, as long as we can find a forest off the Rumble. There's a Wellspring. I mean, forest off the top would be great here, but even if we don't get that, ideally this finds us one. Nope. Well, yeah, it finds us a generous ent, which I guess we cycle the sprawl, or with the spawn here for a forest. Then we can sprawl, but now we need to hit another land off the top for the hunter to be able to come down next turn. They bargain the Wellspring, play Slagwood's Bridge, and they discard. Come on, land. Nope, it was a Bannerhide. Okay, well, I will Wild Growth and Rumble here. Now we get a forest, which I might as well take, because also if they Wildfire us, we're like screwed. So maybe I should have Wild Growthed onto the other land. Oh, I guess I do get to play a Bannerhide here. It's not nothing, but it's not a hunter. They play Munitions, and they do have the Wildfire. That's annoying. We'll get a Plains. I guess Jewel Thief is one of our better draws. Now they have a Chrysalis. Find a Sprawl. That on green. I will attack with the Bannerhide, because if they want to block, I'll just pump the vines on it. If not, we'll just hit them for 4. Pass. They have another Chrysalis. And lucky us, they have the third Chrysalis. And we're going to die. I guess Guardian Naga can destroy some stuff. And Thraben Charm seems okay. Paladin just doesn't have Trample, which is a huge pain against Chrysalis and a bunch of other stuff, so maybe there's a reason this deck hasn't existed. This hand is bad. This hand is also bad. I guess this one is okay. Not really, but we'll keep it. I guess if we get a Utopia Sprawl off the top, or just a Plains and they play a bridge, I can exile it. That's kind of cool. Arbor Elf, I'll attack for 1. They have a Krark Clan Shaman and just wipe the board. Why not? And there's our Sprawl for white. Just a little too late. They don't have a bridge, so I can't exile anything. I could play a 2-3 Hydra. They didn't play anything here, which is kind of weird, but I don't really think a 2-3 Hydra is going to win us the game, so let's just pass. Hopefully they play a bridge and then go to Wildfire it, and then we can exile it. They don't. I could exile it now, but what if they have like a Reckoner's Bargain? Then I lose my Naga too, which is pretty annoying. We get a forest, so we'll pass. Now they have a Chrysalis. I guess we'll exile their bridge. Here's a Rumble, and we get more of what we already have that we don't want. I guess we take the Hydra, which we can actually cast. I think this video is pretty much just a cautionary tale. As always, I understand I've not played it perfectly, but this deck also just seems kind of bad, so. They have a Refurb. I guess we don't need this Vines. Jewel Thief, pass. They have another Refurb. Galvanic Blast. Our Jewel Thief, we get a land, so I could cast the Guardian Naga if we want, which technically blocks the Chrysalis. I think I'd rather just cast this, which can block everything. We'll put it on the spawn. They cast down the spawn. We get a Wild Growth. Amazing. Insight the Wellspring. And there's a Krark. Gonna give it Death Touch, which is gonna kill the Chrysalis, but it also kills the Reacher, so they can just get in for 4. Makes sense. I get a forest, so I can play this Guardian Naga, but that's not gonna matter because it doesn't have reach. This hand is not gonna cut it. This one needs some card draw, but it's got all the ramp we could possibly want, and maybe even too much. I think we put back an Arbor Elf, because this is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 mana. Against Fairies, I'll start with the Arbor Elf, play an island, and swing in. No ninja, and just pass. So I guess Wild Growth probably gets Spell Stuttered. No. Utopia Sprawl, that gets Spell Stuttered. Alright, well, we can play a Jewel Thief, and we do have at least 1 white mana through this. Fairies, another one where initiative is not great. Maybe initiative is just, it's a great mechanic, but maybe it's not where you want to be, unless we're doing like gardens or something. Harrier Strix taps our Wild Growth. Well, that's just rude. Another Vines of Vastwood. Well, I guess I will attack for 3. Pass. End step, they Gale Blade. They swing with everybody for 4. They have another Strix. They only have 4 cards in, they only have 1 card left in hand. So Rumble is maybe something we can get through. We'll give it a try. If they have 1 counterspell, they probably want to save it for something a little bigger, like an Avenging Hunter. Not to that this is really the best time to Avenging Hunter, and yet maybe it'll be okay. We'll attack with the Jewel Thief, and I mean, sure, we can pass the initiative back and forth. Why not? This spawn is not super relevant. Let's play the Hunter. They force spike it. Well, I did want to hold up this Vines of Vastwood. Ideally, with no cards in hand, it won't be as big of a deal. But I guess we'll pay for it. I guess I haven't played a land this turn, so I could get a green for the Vines, but then if I get a white spell, I won't be able to cast it, so I think we just get the Plains and pass. Obviously, they can take the initiative here, but I kind of just need the giant creature, and like double Vines here is +8, and I have 8 here, so I actually just have lethal on board. They said spicy to the Plains. So if we don't get like snapped or something, we might just be able to get there. They loot with a Harrier Strix. Okay. Even if they find a like a Bind the Monster, if they have one of those main deck, they'll still take damage equal to whichever one of these they pick. So they would go to like 9 and then Jewel Thief could still just finish them off. I don't think they're going to be expecting the +8 damage from the hand, which hard to blame them. They are going to attack for 5. They could have a Spell Pierce. Or Spell Pierce wouldn't do it. They could have a Dispel. They find an island and play that. I guess they could have a Counterspell since they got an island. But it's a Miscreant. Alright. Well, they are dead on board. So let's attack. They take it. So I'm going to give +8 damage to our team. I don't even need the initiative back. I'll just deal you lethal. Alright, Shinnin seems really good because if they do hold their guys back, like if we have one Reacher, we can just kind of kill their whole board. Pegasus makes blockers that have flying. Paladin gets chumped, so again, that gets cut, I think. Vines was good there, and they will have some snaps and stuff, but I don't think we need... I think we can cut one of them. They saw the white splash, but they don't actually know what it's for. This hand is okay. We don't ramp a lot. Like, Arbor Elf is okay. I guess if Rumble finds, like, a Wild Growth, we can get there. We get the Wild Growth. They're playing Force Spike, but that can get either one of these, so I guess we just Arbor Elf. Gale Blade. So our Arbor Elf is good. We'll see if they want to, like, snap it or something. Bind the Monster. Fair enough. They take a damage. And Fairy Seer. So now a Wild Growth and then Rumble. Play that, and then Dig Deep. And we get Jewel Thief, Banner Hide, Sprawl. We're going to have 5 mana this turn because of our spawn, so we can't quite play this end. I guess we just take the Banner Hide. It can be a combat trick if we want it to be. It has Scavenge, so if it gets countered, that works too. They're swinging for 2. No Ninja is pretty good. And they missed their land drop, which is also pretty good. We get a land, so I can play a Generous Ent next turn. So yeah, I think I just go for Crew Shock. If it gets countered, maybe we can Ent. We'll pass. They cast a Humbling Elder just to get a blocker, or attacker maybe. They have the Snap for the Crew Shock. That's a little annoying. And another one Mind. Can maybe find them their land. And another of one Mind. They do find an island. And a third of one Mind. Well, they're tapped out, which is kind of cool. I can get like a Generous Ent down or something. But they also were low on cards, and that was something I was kind of counting on. And now that's not really the case. I can play a Generous Ent, but I have to sack the spawn. So I might just want to like enchant the spawn with a Hydra. Then it's really hard for them to get around. Because if they snap it, then they have to have 2 snaps or whatever. So we'll just do that. It's also big enough, so if they have like 1 Humbling Elder, it can still eat a Seer. We're obviously going to block the Seer because if we block this, they could just sack it. And also if they have a Ninja, then they don't get an ETB, which they do. But we get to eat 1 guy for their card draw. It's not the best trade for us, but it's not bad either. They have Counterspell mana up, so I could Generous Ent. They could counter it, but if they do, they don't have a flyer. Even if they had a flyer, they'd need 2 to get past this Nyxborn. So I could just Crew Shock. Yeah, I think I'd rather Crew Shock gets countered. Plus, I guess we get to hold up the other one in case that matters. We still have a Reacher, so again, they have to play 2 flyers here at flash speed, which would be like 2 Ilvoid Galeblades to be able to get another Ninja in. They have a Snap for the Crew Shock. That's fine. If they're not snapping the Hydra, I guess it's decent. They could bind the monster on this, but then the spawn will get tapped, and then I can sacrifice it to block with the Nyxborn Hydra. So they would, again, need like 2 snaps or something, and they've already used 2, so that seems unlikely. They don't attack. We get a Wild Growth. Might as well throw that out there. If they want to counter it, that's totally fine by me. We also still know they have a Gale Blade, so only 2 other cards in hand. But yeah, we're not going to sack this for a Generous Ent, so let's just cast the Banner Hide. If they have a counter spell, that's fine. There's the Blade. They do have 3 flyers now, so if they want to swing in, they can get a Ninja through. But I'll block the Spell Stutter. Again, this doesn't have an ETB. This hasn't had an ETB that matters yet, so it's not a big deal if they want to trade a Spell Stutter for a Ninja. But they also probably feel forced to because they kind of need to draw into some removal spells for these guys. And, I mean, we are at 9 life. They could potentially do this a couple more times and then, like, attacking with everything. Also, if they draw more counter spells, they can keep our guys off the field. So, I mean, they're not in a bad spot. Neither are we. Shinnin's pretty decent. I could just do that on, like, the Banner Hide and attack in. Force their 2 guys to block, but I'd rather they like wait, like sit everything else back first. So let's just cast a Generous Ent. If they have the counter spell, it's fine. They give me a little crying face in the chat. So Generous Scent does resolve. There's the Gale Blade, no attacks. And I kind of want one enormous creature and then I can like shin in. So I could go for a Nyxborn Hydra on like the Generous Scent or the Crew Shock. And if they didn't have a counterspell last turn, they probably won't have one. And then next turn I can shin in for like wipe their board. That's the goal. I guess if this just resolves, I probably just want to attack for 9. They crack the Gale Blade because they know this is going to be pretty bad if it does resolve. And they find the counterspell. Okay, fair enough. We already have 2 blockers on the ground, or 2 in the air and the ground. So I think we'll just swing with the Crew Shock. I'm happy with this trading with any of these guys. I assume it'll just hit for 4. But I guess next turn, if we just shin in onto the Crew Shock, that could still trade for these 3. Plus we could like reinforce with this other Crew Shock if we really wanted. Bind the monster on the spawn. Okay, I think that would have been better on the Generous Ant. Like I said, I could just sack this spawn now and still have a blocker, but maybe they don't quite realize that. We will do that though, and just block both ninjas maybe? They said they realized that right as they did it, so didn't quite realize in the moment. Yeah, I think we just block these. I mean, we have 12 damage on the crackback, so yeah, I think this will be decent. Maybe should have switched these actually, because if they have a Humbling Elder on this one, I actually won't kill the ninja, and they do have a ninja for the Humbling Elder. So if I had switched them, I would still be able to kill both of them, but it's gonna be okay, I think. I mean, they do have 2 cards in hand. We have double shin in. I mean, I don't even need this because they already have to block. And then if I reinforce the Banner Hide, that should be lethal, and if they have like a Humbling Elder or something, that we can just play these as blockers, and we have a food token, so we shouldn't die. I was thinking everything had trample. This does not have trample, so this is only 9 damage if I pump it. So it's obviously not going to be good enough, so that's fine. We'll just let that go through, and then I'll play out these 2 as blockers. Although this can get spell stuttered. Yeah, I may not be playing this quite right, because that can get spell stuttered, which means I could have had a food, and now I block and I have 5 damage and I die. And they have a Harrier Strix. Yeah, I was just not doing my math, so they win that game. Because I threw. Punt in the chat. This has no ramp. This has no lands. This one is okay, I guess. Backup planes and the Shinnin, I guess. Play the Arbor Elf. They play a Miscreant. Pegasus Guardian. Sprawl on white. Tap and untap, play a Jewel Thief, and this could be a turn 3 Pegasus Guardian with a 1/1 made off the treasure. So that could be decent, unless they hold up Counterspell here. But they Ninja. I think that's pretty decent for us. Let's try not to throw this last game. You also get an Arbor Elf, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can't afford to play the Arbor Elf, but that's fine. We'll attack, and because we'll sack this treasure, we should get a 1/1 at our end step with flying. They can't attack. Play a Miscreant of 1 mind and pass. We get a Rumble. Play that. Banner Hide. Hydra's probably the best because it can block, and we can play it right now, even as just a 2/3 is decent. It's decent. It's not amazing. Let's see if they have a Humbling Elder. Attacking with the Jewel Thief just kind of throws it away, so that seems bad. We also have 2 Banner Hides in our graveyard, which we can start getting out of the graveyard. I'm gonna play just the Arbor Elf and pass, actually. Don't think I need to attack yet. They flash into Gale Blade. There's a Strix. Tap down the Guardian. I still have a blocker, but they can use a Humbling Elder or just get a Ninja through around it. They don't attack, though. Decent for us, although the mana they've left up means I can't really play Hydra, but I can scavenge these Crew Shocks, probably into a Snap, but that's fine. We'll do it on the Vigilance and Trample creature and just swing with that. They take 7. That's pretty good for us. We'll pass. They loot with the Strix. That's also pretty good for us. They're kind of desperate. I mean, maybe they just had nothing else to spend the mana on, but that's also not bad. They activate Strix in their main phase. That is crazy. I guess if they don't get a Snap, they probably just die is their thought process, which is pretty true. Although I don't think I can add anything more to this in case they do have the Snap, but I could throw it on like a Spawn. I could cast this Hydra, but then they probably have a counterspell for that. So let's just Banner Hide onto the Spawn. Attack with these 2. Thought about attacking with the Guardian, but if they do have a Humbling Elder, it's kind of rough. They take 11. They said 10 lands and 17 cards. Unfortunate. Well, we get a match despite throwing that second game and not playing particularly well. All right, we are in match 5. We have an okay hand against red. I mean, at least we don't have to worry about counter spells and things. I guess that's an upside. You do only have one land, but ideally Rumble can find another. And this could be like a turn 3 Hunter or something. Red Rally. Of course, it's the version where initiative is worse. Ooh, we do just get the Forest, which means we can Sprawl for white. And then I could just Nyxborn Hydra for a 2/3, but that dies to 1 bolt. So I think we're going to Rumble, and next turn we'll have 4, 5, maybe 6. I guess Jewel Thief, so that we can like Jewel Thief Bannerhide next turn is probably the best. Although we can only do that if we don't block and get another land. I guess I didn't realize. Burning Tree Emissary into Reckless Impulse with a mountain and a rally. So if I take 4 here, it's not great, but it's not great either way. Alright, we do get the Forest. I still have 3 cards in hand, so yeah, I can Crew Shock and Jewel Thief. To block 2 of these, I take 4, I go to 6. And I think that's the best we got. They bolt the Jewel Thief, cast the Rally, and a Tomb Raider. So I take 8 here, I go to 2, and then I will die. No breath weapons here, but we do have these Armadillo Cloaks. Let's see how well those will do. None of the rest of those seem very good. These are expensive and not even that large. Paladin doesn't seem great. I mean, Shinnin just blocks a little bit. It blocks the 1/1s. I don't think that's where we want to be at. It says nothing on turn 1. Turn 2 is a Rumble. I think we need something faster. No land is not quite as fast as I want. I guess this one's a little better. Get rid of a Rumble and a Forest for the Wild Growth. Swing with the Percussionist. Play a Rumble. I guess we take a Bannerhide. Play a Forest and pass. Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider. I will block 1, cycle this Ent. I guess we're just abandoning white because I need to get this Bannerhide down, which I guess is bad if we do get an Armadillo Cloak. Well, Rumble can maybe find it, but we're going to play a 4/4. Hopefully can at least eat one of these guys. Although they just got Metalcraft, so we'll see if there's a Galvanic. Yep, there was indeed. Attack for 6. We get a Forest, so I guess I'll just play a Nyxborn Hydra as a 4/5, so that doesn't die to a Galvanic. We can block here, we take 4, we go to 6, and then we probably die to burn. Or they just have like a Bushwhacker. There's a Burning Tree into a Bushwhacker. Well, this might not be as much of a video of like, oh, check out this cool deck, you should try it, as maybe steer clear of this deck. We played against 4 out of 5 matches that all just had lots of creatures that could take the initiative easily. Dimir Faeries, Blue Fairies, Red Rally, and Boros Synth. And obviously there's plenty of other decks as well that could attack pretty easily. Jund Wildfire, not one that has a ton of creatures, so that's actually one that seems like it could be okay, but Wildfire kills our land that we're trying to build up. They also have a good amount of removal. I think we could have maybe had some decent games against them, and as always, I didn't necessarily play perfectly. I have difficulty playing a deck exceptionally well when it's the first time I'm playing it because I just don't know all the intricacies, but that said, sometimes I just make silly mistakes. So I think the idea is interesting, but I think having Chrysalis and Cascade spells are pretty necessary for being able to get through counter spells so that you have those cast triggers, and just get a little bit of value, seeing as our deck is mostly not a lot of value. It feels like it's very important to be able to get those things because we are an aggro deck, essentially. It needs to be able to overrun our opponent before they can do anything, and taking a slow couple turns to get to the initiative is not really doing it for me. In any case, I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much to my $10 supporters: Howard Granger, Lars, JMW, Rafa Rodriguez, JD NPX, Jason Golombuski, Halkaz, Cody Cowell, and Ill Intent. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much, and I will see you all next time.